It was about 10 years ago that I realised that my husband was having a lot of difficulty, and first I thought perhaps it was stress or depression, but as the time went on I knew there was something very seriously wrong, and within say 12 months I was suspecting some sort of dementia. So looking through the internet, I suddenly thought, how do I go about getting help? And I came across a form that said you can self-refer to social services, and that's what I did.
I was allocated as Will's social worker. I obviously explained I needed to meet Will, and get an understanding of what his ideas were, what he wanted, assess capacity side of things. I think it was good that we'd got something right from the start. So it was really good that Will had got hobbies and he'd got interests, because that gave me, as an outsider, something to connect with him about.
A way of dealing with anyone coming to the home from learning by making mistakes was not to tell him anything in advance, because it would just make him anxious. So I learned not to tell him anything till the very last minute. So if someone was coming to visit, particularly someone he didn't know and wasn't going to recognise, I wouldn't say until that person pulled up on the drive. So when Faith was coming, I opened the door because I heard the car come on the gravel, and said to Will, "That's my friend. I used to work with that lady. Come and say hello. I haven't seen her for a long time. Come and say hello." And he was not sure, but by then he sort of felt, well, I want to know what's going on a bit here.
And that wasn't to be deceptive or to hide anything from Will. It was to try to reduce the amount of barriers, because I was a new person coming into Will's life and his surroundings, and that was very important right from the start. When I came to see Will in the house, Sue had told me about the fact that he likes his coins. He'd got his coin collection and his watches, and he'd got those out. So I focused on that right from the start, because that was something that he was comfortable with and something that he could talk to me about. And me being a stranger, I wouldn't say that it reduced all the barriers, because obviously I was a different, strange person in his house, who he wouldn't remember after I left.
Faith was brilliant because she sat facing him and I was to the side, which was perfect, because he wanted that eye contact and he liked attention. So he would like the fact that you're now looking at me. But he didn't like being asked questions. He didn't like the questions and would look to me for the answer. And if I didn't answer, he was starting to get uncomfortable. When she'd gone, I was saying, "How lovely, that my friend came in to see her. She was just passing," because obviously everybody just passes. So he was not happy, but he was okay. And of course he would forget that it ever happened. Faith arranged for us to have carers, first of all. And that took a lot of organising. It just happened that she found the most perfect person in the world. So
it was key that we found somebody that was flexible for Sue to support her, a male to support Will, because that was very important, because he's a man's man and relates better to men, and it offered that continuity, which was important again for Sue to trust the person. They needed to build up that relationship.
It enabled me to go out and make a phone call, so I could, ring my kids or ring a friend. And if I had to make a GP call, I'd have to do it in that time. If I saw the Admiral nurse, it would have to be in that time. So if I needed to speak to the social worker, it had to be in that time. And everybody was good, because they all knew I'd only got that time on that particular day. One night I went out with my youngest son and his girlfriend and my friend, because we got a little bit banked, a bit of time and money banked. So John came for one evening and I had 4 hours out in the evening.
We decided between myself and Sue, as Will hadn't got the capacity to make decisions regarding his care and support needs, we decided between us, the two of us, that the direct payment would be better because it would give Sue more flexibility. It was a more person-centred approach for Will, and we needed a specific sort of support package for Will.
But it made a huge difference, and he was the right person for Will and the right person for me. I learnt to trust him, first of all, and I could learn to relax. And when I went out the house, although I didn't know what I was going back to, I knew I could go out the house and knew that my husband was being cared for. I knew I could trust that person, and I knew I could relax. Dementia, I guess any serious illness, takes away from you. It takes away the pleasure of talking to your kids or going out.
I read the referral that Sue had written through to us. I knew how hard it was for her to write that, and for me, it made me well up when I was reading it, because I knew how much it had taken her to write that referral and to say, I can't cope anymore, and something needed to change, and we needed to support Sue, to support Will, to make sure that he, you know, was looked after.
I'm quite aware of my own stress levels, and I'm quite aware when I'm stressed. I'm quite aware of how I deal with it, not always in a good way. And I'm quite aware of when I can cope and when I can't. It took me a long time, but eventually I knew I needed help, and I knew we needed help. I like reality. I like looking at things as the way they are and seeing things the way they are, good or bad. So things had been extremely difficult.
So I'd spoke with mental health, and they'd confirmed that there was nothing further that could be done, because that was like our last little glimmer of hope. We thought, oh, well, if there's something medical that can be done to support Will, to sustain him remaining at home, because there was nothing more that we could have done. Yes, we could have increased the direct payment, but Sue would have been out of her house, like she said to me, you know, I'm not going to be living at home. And then there was nothing else that could be done. And that's when we started the process of looking for a long-term placement for Will. Very luckily, we managed to source a home not far from here. With me working with this home with other clients and knowing their behaviours and their needs, they've worked wonders with the clients that I've had there before, and I've said this to Sue, I can't see why there would be an issue with them meeting his needs at the home where he is. Sue was saying how smoothly it actually did go in the end, and I'll stay involved for as long as is needed for Will to be stable at the placement, and to support Sue as well. I did say that to the manager, that, you know, whatever happens, you need to keep as much continuity there for Will as possible.